Bunker Down, has had a history of having a little bit more of a difficult time getting to the group stages, not because of their skill level, but they seem to have an unfortunate place in the brackets sometimes.
Yeah.
If you look at way back at the online or the DreamHaun Online Summer Championships, they had to play Team Pika actually before they even got to the group stages. And so I'm not to say that I'm rooting for them, but I do hope that they have a little bit more success in this tournament. But the game is actually underway, and we have Bunker Down on the Legion side and From Another Dimension on the Hellborn side.
So with that said, hopefully you guys are ready. Get tuned in. Tell your friends. Tell your family. Honcast.com is officially live. And we have a round of 32 matchup here. Destination DreamHack on the line. We have Bunker Down taking on From Another Dimension. As you mentioned, we are in game number 1 now, so let's go ahead and jump into game number 1 between these two teams. So obviously we're now starting with the locking phase. The blind band's already happening. We were looking at Pebbles and Fade coming out from Bunker Down over here, and Fade Ophelia from DmSn. So pretty solid auto band or blind bands here. Fade being blind band with both teams, so doesn't happen too often, but only 3 actual bands before we enter the locking stage.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it does happen sometimes, but both teams really do value that Fade pickup. It's so annoying to play against. I've listed all the reasons before, but basically it just gives, clear vision with that ultimate, lots of mobility. It makes the team play way differently. It also is really hard as a support to play against a Fade. You're constantly having to invest gold into those counter wards, and that's never fun. And some locks that have come out. Tundra being that first lock coming out from Bassett's there. Very standard considering they are in the first position, as well as Glacius Miraxis followed up from DmSn. And then the locks are continuing with Luna and Plague Rider.
Yeah, Miraxis is one of those heroes that it seems like he always makes it through the locking phase, but then it gets banned. We never really see him because he's usually in that banning phase. So I've always found that curious how he's never really been locked up by too many teams, because he definitely is a powerful hero. And
right.
There is a reason why he's banned, obviously, if not locked up. So he's going to be locked up here, though, as you put it, specifically by DmSn. It finished off with the Luna Plague Rider, then Magnus, the 6th and final lock here. What a strong lock pool we have. No troll locks by any means. I mean, any 6 of those heroes, I'm sure either one of these teams would be happy to ultimately get here.
Yeah, definitely. And the banning phase has begun, and it's going rather quickly here. Demented Shaman, Polywog Priest, Parasite, Wild Soul. That's a hero actually we didn't get a chance to touch on. That hero has been seeing so many blind bans recently, specifically against Trademark Esports. They run him very, very frequently. And almost gets auto-banned right away, but actually made it through both the blind ban and the locking phase, and is banned out here in the regular banning phase. And then finally, Dark Lady and Mage Bane, the final 2 bans. So there's still that Draconis if you're looking at hard carry. There's also a Silhouette. So we'll have to see what Bassett's goes. I would not be surprised to see a Draconis first picked here. But they're going to go with the jungle. They're going to go with the strong jungle with Tempest, seeing how Ophelia and Parasite are banned.
Yeah, look at the quick response, though, from DmSn, going with the Keeper of the Forest. As you mentioned, Draconis is still on the board. He got Silhouette on there as well. So we'll see if perhaps that's an option here for From Another Dimension. But the Snap Keeper of the Forest pick in response to the Tempest pick. So, again, I'm not too familiar with these teams' recent history, specifically DmSn. I know they are a solid team, and these players especially, this SmackDown, I'll definitely play I recognize, and DmSn in general, a team name that I recognize being around for a little bit, but I don't necessarily know their play style. So, but with how quickly they picked up that Keeper of the Forest, I wonder. I like to think that that's a hero that they do prefer. So,
well, it could just be a straight up counter to Tempest. Keeper of the Forest is really a counter to Tempest. Tempest can't buy a Shrunken Head and feel safe. Keeper of the Forest can still cancel it with his own ultimate.
Yeah.
So it's a very strong counter against Tempest. So that must be the reason that that I can pull out.
That's what we saw in that TT Esports TDM match.
Yeah. If you guys check that out, it's also posted on our new website, honcast.com. If you check out the article I wrote there with the number 1, I rated it as the number 1 game recently. Yeah. It was such a long game, about 94 minutes long. And it was a huge standoff between Keeper of the Forest and Tempest. It was a lot of fun to watch. Zephyr and Silhouette picked up. So kind of interesting. That's a lot of farm to go on both those heroes. So we'll see how they divvy it up. And then Moon Queen actually final pick there from DmSn, along with that Nymph 4, by the way. So.
Yeah, we are getting some different picks here in this game. Obviously, the Zephyr over there, not only because of Zephyr, but as you mentioned, going with a Silhouette. Tundra going to be the first pick out of the lock pool, so things are really picking up here as this phase progresses here with the lock pick mode. So now from the lock pool, 2 of those 5 heroes going to go over for DmSn. But Zephyr and Silhouette, this is reminding me a lot of that strength meta carry phase, where it seemed like we had the Armadons, the Krakens, the Zephyrs, where they were picked up, and from time to time they were picked up with that range carry as well, with the Silhouette, with the Forsaken Archer, with the Corrupted Disciple, something like that, more of that range kind of carry as well. So, in that sense, maybe not crazy, but it has been a long time since we have seen that style of strategy. Their fifth and final pick ends up actually being a Luna, so hell, very strong pick to finish things off. Their support here that they were definitely needing. As DmSn, of course, they went with Moraxis and Glacius themselves, so both teams got some interesting points to them, but at the same time, pretty strong on both sides.
Yeah, this is going to have to be a suicide keeper the way that you look at it, unless you're suiciding something like a Moraxis and soloing a Nymph, but I don't see them really doing that. So I really like the lanes in setup from DmSn. I also like the mid-game aggression that they have with the Keeper of the Forest, with the Nymph port with Moraxis. It's so strong. I really can't think of a better hero to port with Nymphora than Moraxis. Maybe like Pebbles and Fade. I mean, Pebbles Nymphora is always strong, but I actually think Moraxis Nymph might even be a little bit more strong. I just think Moraxis is such a huge presence to deal with and has such longevity in these team fights.
Yeah.
But looking at the lineup coming out from Bunker Down, probably going to see a solo. Actually, it's going to be a solo Zephyr, and it's going to be that the Tundra in that long lane with the Tempest and I, and they're going to go with a safe Luna and Silhouette in the bottom their short lane. So they're going to pretty much beat any suicide, and it's probably going to be that keeper. Yep, he's walking down there, and they're going to have a Moraxis Nymphora in the mid lane against the Zephyr. That's going to be really hard for Zephyr. Luna's going to have to respond pretty much immediately in order to get the Zephyr some farm early.
Yeah, and so as you called it, and sure enough, that is the case. Zergo here for DmSn, playing that Keeper of the Force, going the suicide role in the long lane. So if a Luna adjusts to the middle lane is what we expect, what do you see a Silhouette versus Keeper of the Force matchup playing out as?
I think Silhouette should do just fine. He doesn't even need that much of a start. If he levels up, what I see a lot of players do, especially against a melee hero, is level up that Relentless Salvo to level 2, and then max your Death Lotus after that. You're going to need that extra bonus physical damage proccing from a Relentless Salvo onto a melee hero so you can get him out of the lane and do enough harass damage. So I think he's going to do just fine. Now, what did Keeper buy? He did not buy a Hatchet, so that's going to hurt him a little bit as far as getting that early CS.
You see right here, he's going back to base, going to get the reach into the man after spawning the trees, but now he is going to come with the creep wave. He is going to use the trees to pull the creep wave right here at the bottom lane, or not even necessarily pull, I guess just block them for long enough to eventually put the positioning of the creep wave in a pretty good spot for him, I guess. So yeah, he's going to tank the creep wave all the way to death of one of the animated trees at least, as the other one will finally despawn right there. So you see Silhouette, though, she's pulling the creep wave herself and tanking them in front of the tower. Doesn't want to get them into the tower range, so Silhouette a decent response there and just eats one of the trees, and it really ends up pretty normal for her in the end.
Yeah, she did take definitely a lot of damage, but I think it was a smart decision by Bassett. Going to get the lane in the proper position, and going to get pretty much all the farm that she wants here. Going to not miss any of those last hits that she shouldn't. Actually, she misses one, but that happens. Nonetheless, she's going to have a fairly easy time down here. Still missing a couple, but that's unfortunate. Let's take a look at the mid lane. Aluna did respond very, very quickly with me playing that Aluna. So it's going to be an Aluna Zephyr lane, which I might add, yet again, if you guys didn't tune into the last cast, but Aluna did get a nerf specifically on her Emerald Lightning, so it only bounces to... Actually, it doesn't bounce, but it only hits one target. They changed the wording, I believe. So it actually only hits one target at level 1. So if you're trying to combo out anything with that Aluna, you're going to have to realize that it does not have the extra bounce until it hits level 2.
Yeah, that definitely, as you even mentioned, we've seen cases of Luna's taking that into mind and even maxing out that first ability as a result of perhaps that change. But still obviously a go-to support hero even after that nerf that she took, and I think you can see for yourself why. But an interesting matchup in here in the middle lane nonetheless, as you mentioned earlier. Nymphora Moraxis, very deadly in its own right. We'll see how that matches up against the Zephyr Luna. That leaves us with the top lane, though. Tundra versus Moon Queen, actually. You do see Moon Queen right here finishing her Ring of the Teacher, and the creep wave going to get pushed back a little bit about midway right here. But so far, Moon Queen is 6-1 against a 3-1 Tundra. Does that surprise you? As actually Moraxis in the middle lane taking a lot of pressure right here. The stun comes out. There's a power throw on top. Not going to be enough for the kill, though. Moraxis does have a health potion, and he will be fine in the end. Nymphora was controlling the bottom rune, which ended up being bottom. Was it picked up? Oh, yeah, it was picked up by Tempest, actually. And it happened to be Illusions. But Moon Queen versus Tundra. Obviously, Glacius is actually here as well.
Yeah.
So Makes sense.
It's been a dual lane here, really. Glacius is just kind of stacking that hard camp. It's tripled now, actually, so as Moon Queen gets the levels and gets those glaives up, she's going to be able to clear those very easily. But Tundra's doing a good job of getting the experience. I mean, Glacius plus anything in the short lane is always really, really hard to deal with. Let's check out Silhouette's farm down here in the bottom lane. 12-0, so versus a 10-0 Keeper, actually. So Keeper did opt out to get the level 2 of that, the Nature's Veil. So it does not have the Entmoot to give that extra attack speed and movement speed. Not the biggest deal in the world, but nonetheless, still doing a fine job here down against this Silhouette.
Yeah, of course, the Nature's Veil, a big reason for that, well, one, it makes your camouflage last that much longer, but also the regen you get from the
armor.
And the armor on top of that. So yeah, it's one of those abilities. It just does so many things for just putting a level into it, and then you can keep leveling up. And just, again, it adds on so many things. So yeah, I could definitely agree with that there in that sense. Now, Moon Queen, we talked about her a little bit, obviously, the carry hero pickup here for DmSn. What do you make of a Moon Queen pickup, specifically when there was a Draconis on the board that could have been picked up as well?
I mean, it could just feel like that player wanted Moon Queen this game, or feels like Moon Queen's I mean, Moon Queen, don't get me wrong, like in the late game, it is so hard to deal with a Moon Queen with full items. It really is. You just got to get to that point. And as far as getting to that point, Draconis obviously is a much better hero for that because he farms way faster. Now Moon Queen with stacks can still farm. Actually in the mid lane, Zephyr doing a lot of damage to this Meraxis. One more auto attack, and he does go down. Rhythmy actually gets credit for that Bloodlust kill, so that's going to help him get some boots early on, as he now does have 500 gold. Yep, buys boots immediately.
Yeah, very good job for him. So, but as you were talking about, so Moon Queen, definitely a hero that can be very, very powerful on the later game stage, but getting there is a lot slower than Draconis. So, but in the end, perhaps it's just preference, like you said, SmackDown will be playing the Moon Queen in this case. Maybe just simply wanted to play Moon Queen instead. Middle lane matchup, though, that's obviously big for our Legion team right here in Bunker Down, getting the Bloodlust kill onto Meraxis, being played by Mirage Hunter here. He hits level 4. But Boots picked up on Aluna now, playing that support role. And, of course, that'll be able to position herself even that much more effective here. So bottom lane matchup, Silhouette hitting level 6 right there. 22-0, so actually not managing to deny anything just yet. But 22-0, 22-2, Keeper the Forest. So, yeah, it seems like Keeper the Forest is actually, again, holding his own down here. Not doing too bad of a job against Bastards on Silhouette. We do see in the middle lane, though, once again, Meraxis is in a lot of trouble. He already got pulled, and he's trying to run away. Using that Quake stun, he will be fine when it's all said and done. Power throw coming out. It will hit, but not enough for the kill. Down to under 20 life, it looked like. But Mirage Hunter stays alive, so.
Yeah, that was very close. Now, the bottom lane, I am seeing quite a few, unfortunately, last hits missed there by Bastards, so maybe server problems. I know that for some reason, Scandinavian servers, the EU servers for a lot of Scandinavian players in particular, have been kind of shaky, so maybe that's what it is. But yeah, Keeper the Force actually doing a very good job down here, getting a lot of levels. But here comes Tempest. They want to maybe start something. The ultimate from Tempest does reveal. He does stun him. One more auto. Oh, actually, yeah, he's definitely going to die. The ultimate is going to be used. Bastards gets credit for the kill.
Middle lane, Meraxis will fall. Zephyr dropping quickly, and Nymphoria not able to finish them off, though. He puts the Gust offensively or defensively away. Meanwhile, the top lane, Moon Queen, no ultimate even needed. Just enough damage to take out Tundra herself. So all 3 lanes within a span of 10 seconds right there. A kill ends up happening. It's a 2-1 advantage in favor for the Legion team. But Moon Queen getting a killer at the top lane. Her goal per minute right now, 352 GPM. Definitely off to a great start. She has nearly 2,000 gold saved up, by the way, so going to be curious what she first goes for. Meraxis putting the Quakes on out. A lot of pressure again as Zephyr gusts him. And there's a power throw. Nice sidestep, though. That would have definitely been a kill right there. He just barely dodged it. But, man, this Zephyr Aluna lane, I knew we thought it'd be good, but this good? I mean, they are playing aggressive.
And they're doing it on the Meraxis, not the Nymphora, too.
Yeah.
Top lane, Zed Pro, or Sweet Pro in this case, getting the kill before, though, on Glacius before he died, was really, really huge. So it was actually a 3-for-1 because he got a kill, even though he died. They got a kill mid as well as the kill onto bottom as well on that Keeper of the Forest. So it was a really good exchange there. But, yeah, one of the things I want to talk about is, okay, when you think about Nymphora and you're thinking about how to pair up these lanes, you also have a Glacius that's up there on that lane with that Moon Queen. Now, yes, Nymphora plus the Meraxis is a great combination. Oh, actually, Nymphora, as we're talking about her, gets initiated on yet again. So much damage coming out with that combination. All of those tornadoes on Zephyr just do so much damage, and she dies immediately. So really making the best out of this mid lane. But what I want to talk about is This Nymphora paired up with this Miraxis. Yes, when he gets that portal key. Yes, when Nymphora hits level 6 is a great combination. But do they really lane well together in the beginning? I don't think so. I would rather see a Glacius with this Miraxis and have Nymphora babysit this Moon Queen top.
Yeah, but obviously they went with the other combination here. Glacius is currently pulling the creep wave here. And what is that? Triple stack camp. So he has been triple stacking. You talked about that earlier. And obviously Moon Queen can eventually head over there. Maybe she's going to wait for a Whispering Helm, pick up something like that before she eventually does. And leveling up that Glaive ability, which actually hasn't been leveled. The multi-strike ability, she hasn't leveled up. She has 4 into the Moonbeam, so max that out. And then has 2 into Lunar Glow, actually, of course, that being her aura. Then obviously the 1 in the ultimate. Bottom lane, keep her the force on Silhouette. Silhouette a little bit of harassment there to keep her, but he's going to be fall back and be just fine. Not going the multi-strike yet. I mean, do you find that curious, or is it really not that big a deal?
No, I don't think it's that big of a deal. Normally you don't see that level till... I expect her to level at this next level at 8. You still want the damage with that aura, but you don't really need it leveled up to max right away. And you definitely need the Moonbeam. I mean, it's a great spam ability on a carry hero, mind you. So, I mean, it gives you that 1 second stun, 300 magic damage. So, it's a good nuke, and it has a very, very low cooldown at 6 seconds. So you can pretty much spam that on somebody, do a lot of damage. So yeah, I expect to see those Glaives, the multi-strike ability to come out next level. Aluna up here actually in the meantime has an Invis root and looking for blood, perhaps maybe on this Moon Queen. I don't know if she even expects it.
Nope. Yeah, she is in a lot of trouble right here. She's falling back right now, expecting something up. Middle is missing. Little does she know she just juked Aluna right there a little bit, and they're going to fall back actually. As Zephyr says he would rather have the triple stack creeps than go for a sure kill on a Moon Queen, and he even uses the Typhoon, so they're going to kill these triple stacks. What do you make of that? Do you think that was a correct decision? Oh, Glacius running into Aluna. What was he doing going up this hill? He's in a lot of trouble. Going to put the freeze out, and there's the power throw, though. Easy kill. Moon Queen started heading over, but was not able to get there nearly in time. So they end up getting a hero kill out of it, too.
I mean, they didn't really know where, they didn't know who was going to have ports or anything like that. I mean, yes, they could have gotten a very, very easy kill onto that Moon Queen, but they played the safer route. They got a triple stack, which was huge, and a kill out of it. So yeah, they didn't really nothing wrong. It's fine. They could have gotten a kill, but hey, no big deal. I think they're fine with that exchange.
Yeah. Yeah, so Flensmeister playing that Zephyr. Of course, we got to see him play for 15 in the DreamHack Redemption tournament in both the first and the losers bracket of that event. Definitely a name that, like I said earlier, I remember did very, very well when it came to farming and playing that carry role. And so far here, 10 minutes into the game, 400 gold per minute. He's 2-0-2. They have triple stack Ancients over here as well. He's gonna come over here. Does he have Typhoon up? No, he doesn't. 50 seconds. But they're gonna clean up these triple stack Ancients. There goes a power throw from Aluna for the assistance. Those Cyclones, obviously, they only do 75% damage now. Yeah, they used to do 50%, but I thought they went halfway.
They used to do 100.
They used to do 100. Then they went to 50, and then they're kind of the halfway meet-up point. Zephyr dropping a little bit, but he is going to clean them up in the end. And his goal per minute, I just said 400 GPM before that. It's now 450 goal per minute. 50 GPM jump in a matter of 20 seconds right there. Zephyr is a boss right now.
Yeah, you talk about here like Draconis that can farm out those Ancients quickly. When you have all those Cyclones up on that Zephyr, and you get a good Helm of the Black Legion so you can mitigate all that damage, you can clear out just as fast. And, Zephyr, he's farming very fast, man. I mean, especially those Ancients were all Predestars. And actually, another Predestar can't just respawn right there, so it's really the better camp. I think something small needs to be done to the dragon things, but that's neither here nor there. Anyway, bottom lane, Silhouette still doing a great job, sitting at 350 gold per minute herself. Gets a kill with the Force, who's kind of had a little bit more hard time after the initial gank from Tempest, who, by the way, is kind of quiet this game other than that one gank.
Yeah.
Does have his own Ring of Sorcery, but, is still doing his thing, farming the jungle. Not the fastest farm in the world, but still applying a little bit of pressure to this bottom lane, which, by the way, they're going to go for another kill. Tundra sets it up with the ultimate, and down he goes. Zergo, unfortunately. There's the power snipe to just maybe finish him off, but Bassus gets credit for the kill.
Yeah, that's just obviously great execution coming out here from a Legion team and Bunker down, a.k.a. 15. They're going to push this bottom tower, and absolutely nothing DmSn is going to be able to do to stop that. So we are now looking at a 6,300 goal lead, 5,600 experience lead, and both you and I, we were going into the series expecting it to be a pretty solid series, but so far, 15, it's all 15 here. 12 minutes into the game right now, looking very, very good. Now, Whispering Helm has just been finished on Moon Queen. She is farming 372 gold per minute. Actually is pretty damn impressive farm for herself. She is also 1-0-0, so that, of course, a good news here for our Hellborn team, but right now, Bunker Down is no doubt in control, and they're going to push a secondary tower at the bottom lane. Will our Hellborn side react to it? I don't think they're going to unless we see invulnerability and port-in right now. There's invulnerability, no port-ins.
Oh,
this tower, oh, we do have an Infor port actually. Keep it the Force running in. Here we go. Keep it the Force. Willy. There's our road. Moon Queen is here. No, but their Tempest ultimate gets canceled right there. The Moon Queen ultimate, and down goes the Legion team. That's what that's what DmSn needed right there. A great team fight. They did lose the tower, but still, they cleaned up the 3 heroes and now going to push us back out this bottom lane.
Yeah, it was kind of an awkward Tempest ultimate right there. He did ult in front of himself, but he didn't realize that Miraxus was coming in right behind him. Had he ulted like kind of on himself, Miraxus would not have been able to get that stun, but did get the stun, canceled it. And great turnaround from DmSn, but regardless, I mean, that tower push and the early kills that happened before that have actually propelled the Legion side in a very good lead. 6,500 gold, 2,000 experience. They're still definitely winning this game right now, but that was definitely what DmSn needed to get back in this game.
So Moon Queen has that Whispering Helm now. As you mentioned earlier, one of the triple stacks was taken out in the jungle, but they do have another one, and they do have double stacked Ancients right now. Moon Queen is, of course, near those Ancients, so probably it looks like she is heading in that direction. Does she have her multi-strike yet? She does have level 2 multi-strike as well as a level 3 aura on top of that. So we'll see what Moon Queen decides to do. She's actually going to port to the top, and it looks like, because they're going to go for a gank on a Zephyr up here. In comes Glacius. Zephyr trying to steal those triple stacks. Those are Wild Hunters, though. Zephyr not necessarily the greatest against those as far as clearing them out. He is in a lot of trouble here. Will they be able to initiate? They're just feeling, they feel like, so, if you look on the minimap, obviously they have a chance to initiate, but they don't get the information that we get, so they probably suspect maybe they had a Luna's nearby, maybe even Tempest. They just don't want to really commit to it, and they're going to just let him kind of get away in the end. But the triple stack is still here for the most part. A couple of the Ogres died, but Moon Queen eventually will be able to go over there and clean it up. Now Zephyr still in offensive mode, but he will finally fall back as more Axis was charging
That's 5
in.
heroes even.
Yeah, Keeper the Force is coming up too. Yeah, 5 heroes interested. Not going to be able to go. A Luna going to place the ward. Oh, now she's in a lot of trouble right here. Was it worth it? It looks like it is going to be in the end, as Rhythme is going to be able to escape there.
Maybe saw the ward come down, maybe not. But yeah, Zephyr definitely playing in the enemy territory here.
Yeah.
But it's paying off. I mean, his farm is ridiculously high. 525 gold per minute after finishing out those Ancients. Probably going to go for an early Mock of Brilliance. Does port up to the top lane and put up resistance. But yeah, when the Glacius and the Nymphora saw him in that jungle, they didn't have the Moon Queen ultimate to up to work with if Moon Queen did want to help out and initiate.
True.
And I mean, Zephyr with full Cyclones is just going to tear those two supports apart. They do have boots, so that's good for them, but nonetheless, they're still very squishy. So
now Moon Queen just stacked this camp right here, this hard camp next to the lane here, but it's kind of funny because she stacked it, and I'm pretty sure Zephyr may eventually go over here and clean it up, so it's almost like helping the enemy team. But
yeah.
Speaking of the enemy team, they are going to be pushing the top tower on the Legion side. That is, you got Glacius kind of setting up, taking out the Shiver right there, I believe. As see the Tree Grapple, port coming in, the tower goes down, Silhouette will port out, more Axis is going to jump. That's a fake Silhouette. They're using so much right there, and it just ends up dying and nothing actually happens. So I'm sure DmSn hitting themselves in the head after that moment, realizing when it was too late that it indeed was an illusion. Again, these stacks are still here. I do wonder when Moon Queen is going to eventually go over there and finally clean those up. She has a Mighty Blade pickup, so on her way to very possible that Shrunken Head, and I'm sure you would agree with that. Yeah. As you tend to do. Now, they're going to try to counter push at the top lane, though, in the meantime. The tower is actually very low. It is just out of deny range. Flensmeister, though, in the front lines. He's level 11. He does not have his Typhoon, though. And,
right.
I'm sure the Hellborn team is very aware of that, as they did see there in that last team fight. So probably feeling a little bit more eager in terms of making something happen right here, but they still got to find that opportunity.
They don't need to defend this at all. They should just back away. There's no reason to fight right now. The ultimate's not up from Zephyr. They do have an ult from Tempest, actually, who does have enough for a portal key, but he's nowhere near. He's not going to get there up in time, so they just need to defend this. Play smart, Han. You don't have to defend all your towers. Just let it fall. You have a massive lead. You have a Sword of the High up onto his Zephyr.
Jeez,
they're actually going to initiate on him,
wow.
so they're playing this the complete opposite way that I would, but still living life on the edge.
Hey, I mean, they are defending the tower nonetheless, and hey, nobody dies, and maybe it's not the biggest deal at the end, but that's a big if right here when you see the Lunar. There's a portal key Tempest. It comes in right there. A great ultimate. He's going to be getting though. Tempest will fall. There's a root coming out. Silhouette now in a lot of trouble, as well as under the Moon Queen ultimate doing so much damage, and also not going to be enough. Silhouette will fall. There's the Arcane Shield from Moraxis running away, and that's exactly what you were referring to. Zephyr now running in, though. He is still about half life. He's got the Cyclones up. They do finish off Moraxis, the great power throw snipe. So in the end, it will be was that a 2-for-1 exchange? Wow, I thought there was more kills. So it's a 2-for-1 exchange as Moraxis falls for Tempest and Silhouette, and they do deny the tower. So in the end, at least 15 was able to make something happen there.
That was just such a horrible decision, though. Like, even if they say they'd even wiped them for some reason, I would just attribute that to DmSn really screwing up in their play. But they should not have taken that fight. Yes, they had the portal key up on Tempest, but there was just really no reason to fight that. They could have just excelled their farm elsewhere and let them have a tower and waste their time, group it up as 5. But nonetheless, they're still in a great position. Don't get me wrong. I mean, Zephyr, when you have a Zephyr that almost has a mock at 18 minutes, along with Ghost Marchers, Vestments, Helm of the Black Legion, and Power Support, I mean, just ridiculous amounts of farm. On top of that, a Silhouette who has a Null Stone.
Yeah,
so,
and that goes back to we don't usually see these kind of lineups that often. We used to seeing the one art carry, especially lately the last 2-3 months. It's that one art carry. In this case, it would be a Silhouette, and then you build a team around that. This is not. Zephyr is a farming hero that goes with Silhouette. They're making it work, though. That was the one question that you brought up, of course, with going a lineup like they did. But, hey, you got a Zephyr with 550 gold per minute, Mocker Brilliance finish just over 18 minutes in, as you said, with all those other items. And you have a Silhouette who's managing 380 GPM. Not too shabby herself, so.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, the game is in their hands at this point. And then Tundra, he was the suicide role. He's only level 8, but still is applying or is doing a lot for his team here. I mean, he's almost got that Call of the Winter leveled up to 3. That's really when you get the good vision from that Shiver, having the extra movement speed and that range and that clear vision for the Shiver. But yeah, things are looking really, really good for Bunker Down right now, and they don't have to do anything crazy. They can just keep out farming, I think. Moon Queen, yes, she's scary in the late game, but so is Silhouette. so is Zephyr. I mean, Zephyr's not really your hard late game carry. Definitely more of the mid game type style of carry. But hey, he's got it. I mean, almost 600 gold per minute. So things are looking good for them.
You see right here, Zep Pro using that Shiver to block the Ancients, and he's actually getting them to constantly aggro on the Shiver. I believe that's why the Ancients keep moving out here on the Hellpoint side. It's actually pretty funny. I don't know if I've seen anything like that. But finally, the Shiver will be destroyed. And they'll kind of go back to resting in peace. Glacius pushing up the middle lane by himself, actually. This is a very risky and awkward situation. Keep it the force sitting in some trees, but Glacius like, man up time. I'm going to go ahead and push this lane. Thankfully for him, though, Caspe does not get jumped, so he will be able to walk back without any danger. 3,300 gold saved up on Moon Queen. She has enough for her Shrunken Head. Of course, needing the 2,900, and there we go. Right on cue, the Shrunken Head purchased. For Smack Donald here playing the Moon Queen. She's got a Shrunken Head. She's got Steam Boost. She's got Whispering Helm. So, obviously, we're impressed by Zephyr's farm for very good reason. It's damn impressive. Moon Queen's farm is nothing to laugh at either. 433 gold per minute. It is looking very, very good. And we did see that last team fight, the damage output of her ultimate. I mean, she's going to be level 16 here in the next, and hopefully for their sake, maybe by the next team fight. And that's, that's a lot of damage that's going to be coming out.
Definitely. And once she gets the Geometer's Bane, she's really going to dish out a ton of damage in these team fights. Of course, the illusions do proc that multi-strike as well, so it's just massive amounts of damage in an AoE effect. Cleave, it's not really a cleave, but you get my point. It hits everyone else in the area, and once she gets that, it's really going to be good for these team fights, especially with the Keep of the Forest ultimate and the Moraxis, who has that portal key to set up a good initiation. So it's not over just yet by any means, but Zephyr with almost 600 GPM is making it difficult, and Silhouette also has a decent amount of farm herself with that Null Stone. It was actually a very, very early Null Stone, but hasn't been farming all that much because of it. That's one of the problems here, too, is when you draft two heroes that need tons of farm. There's One of them soaks up all the farm. The other one doesn't get that much, but still Silhouette is doing very, very good so far this game.
Now, middle tower being aggressively pushed here from the Hellborn team. Moon Queen leading the way here in the front line. She does have that shrunken head, of course, so 10-second charge on that. We do see Jeffrey Moraxis in the background. Did not catch Zephyr. Caught a Luna, though. Are they going to tap here? Keeping the force coming in with the rune. Zephyr's in a lot of trouble with the Moon Queen ultimate. Tear it up, Zephyr. That Tempest ultimate not going to matter. It got canceled immediately, actually, and Tempest will follow as well. Right now, DmSn, a huge fight for them. Silhouette, she will pour down before she gets taken out with her illusion, and the illusion will fall. So a 3-for-1 exchange. Glacius the only one to die here on the Hellborn team. They get the tower kill, and all of a sudden, DmSn is actually in a very good spot. They're going to push the secondary tower. Buybacks are not possible right now. No one, or Tempest can buy back, but Zephyr and Aluna, they cannot. So they're going to lose a secondary tower as well. What a fight there from another dimension.
This is a great comeback from them, and they got the core items up, and actually more initiation onto Tundra. Is this going to be okay? I don't know. They're not actually going to follow through. Tundra does get the ultimate onto Moraxis. He's quite tanky, though. Are they going to be able to save him? They do get the invis. Bassus, in the meantime, able to take out Wakes on the net 4 in the background. And so that's a good pickup kill for him. Regardless, though, they're actually still in the lead with 5,700 gold and 3,200 experience, so it's kind of crazy. But the team fight from the Keeper of the Forest ultimate with that portal key, the Moraxis with the portal key, the shrunken head up on Moon Queen, it's so hard to deal with. And I don't know how they're going to combat that. They're going to really need a shrunken head up on this Tempest, but still, I talked about at the very beginning of this drafting stage that Keeper of the Forest is a great tool against that Tempest.
Yeah, it definitely is. And again, as we've seen several times, even recently before, specifically that TDM versus TD Esports matchup. So, really, DmSn, talk about, as you said, definitely a solid start of a comeback. Still, the stats are in favor overall of 15, aka bunkered down over here. 6,300 goal lead, around a 3,900 experience advantage. The Ancients are triple stacked. I thought Morax was going to maybe stack them, but they're already triple stacked, so maybe just waiting for Moon Queen to eventually get it. They've been stacked for a while, it seems like, so that's kind of unfortunate. They really haven't been able to capitalize on that. But how about Smackdown on Moon Queen? 6-0-3, 500 gold per minute. This is definitely one of the more impressive Moon Queen performances we've seen recently. Again, a hero we don't get to see too often on the competitive scene, but we do see her occasionally picked. It never seems like she really has the greatest time, though. But this game, Smack Donald he's level 16 as well, and as I mentioned earlier, that is a pretty big deal. They jumped the illusion Moraxis right there. Silhouette even using her new portal key, but obviously realizing quickly that it was just that, an illusion. Moon Queen will port back, so all 5 are ready to go for DmSn. It was an aggressive push from Bunker down here. They're trying to maybe catch somebody. The Shiver in the front lines, of course, spotting them out. But in the end, you see Moraxis, that is another illusion, and they will realize it quickly. So scaring off 15, and eventually they'll retreat, it looks like.
Yeah, I mean, when you use your spells like that on an illusion, and good bait by Mirage Hunter, and is that his name? I can't see actually the end of it, but yeah. When you use your spells like that on an illusion, you kind of have to just kind of concede that fight or push, whatever you're going for. And your spells just aren't on cooldown. There's potential for you to get jumped in, and so they smartly fall back. But that gives Moon Queen more time to farm, and I'll tell you, Moon Queen, once she gets started, Moon Queen just takes off, and you can see right there, already getting past the 512, about 520 gold per minute. And I gotta say, a Moon Queen with that amount of farm, and you compare it to the amount of farm that Zephyr has, it's pretty much identical. The items and the damage that comes from Moon Queen with that much farm is much greater than a Zephyr, because Zephyr's primarily coming out with magic damage, but Moon Queen is doing massive amounts of AoE damage with that multi-strike, and it's all physical. Well, on top of the ultimate that does massive amounts of
exactly.
magic damage.
Again, we saw last fight yet again. I mean, it is ridiculous. It's a level 16 now, so she has a level 3 ultimate. But yeah, no, Zephyr, he's more of just a constant damage throughout a team fight. He'll stay alive. He'll do constant damage in those team fights, especially with the Mach, the Typhoon, the Cyclone on top of that. As you said, it is all magical damage, though, but it is a lot of just AoE constant. Moon Queen, not necessarily crazy burst damage, but at the same time, it is actually pretty decent burst. I mean, with that Moonbeam, with that ultimate, and her right clicks in general, just putting out so much damage. So she picks up a Dancing Blade, by the way. So I gotta think that's gonna turn into a Wing Bow. I mean, usually if there's gonna be the Genjiro, you see the Assassin Shot first. So
right,
a Wing Bow possibility here for Moon Queen. You think that's a correct choice?
I just think that the Geometer's Bane is so strong. I just think Illusion's proccing with that multi-strike, and actually Zephyr is in a world of hurt right now. It actually does pop the ultimate. There's the initiation coming out from Moraxis. So much damage onto Zephyr, and just makes his farm look like it's so futile in this game. And a great pickoff. That's all 5 heroes up here, but hey, they got the job done. So
yeah, that I'm a little bit curious what Zephyr was thinking. Again, it's sometimes as a spectator, you're like, what were you thinking? But what you have to realize is that from their point of view, it could have looked like something completely different. But it seemed like, for one, he was up there by himself with absolutely zero vision. We talked about that earlier. He was playing really aggressive earlier in the Hellborn jungle. But, you know, maybe that was when they had even more of a lead. But that lead has calmed down a lot, and it's very slight now at this point. Now at the bottom lane, Tundra really aggressively pushing in this bottom tower. Going to force them to use a vulnerability, but the top secondary tower will go down in favor of DmSn, and Tundra will eventually fall back. You see the Shiver is, Shiver's going to survive right there, so no free gold for the Hellborn team. But yeah, ultimately, you got to wonder a little bit what Zephyr was even doing there in the first place, and then two, his decision to turn around, and he's the one that even initiated the fight, it seemed like. I mean, he was slowed, so maybe he figured he had to fight,
right?
And that was just basically, I'm going to take people out with me, but in the end, got nobody. He just got completely jumped and then zerged down. So 27 minutes into the game. Again, the stats overall leads still remain in favor of Legion's side, but kind of feel like DmSn is actually in the better spot now.
Well, the heroes on their team don't really require, other than Moon Queen, don't get me wrong, don't really require that much farm. They got their core items. They had the Blink on Miraxis. They got the Blink on Keeper, who now has a Bulwark. They don't need anything else. I mean, the supports, they get their main items, that's it. They don't need farm. They don't really need that much in levels, maybe in Amphora. But they have all their core stuff, and in the meantime, they have their hard carry, who's farming higher than anyone else in the game. So despite the lead actually coming out in numbers for the Legion side, Hellborn's in a much better position.
Now, Moon Queen just bought a, I believe this is her Warhammer on the Courier, or where the hell is it now? Is it in the stash? She might have just put it in her stash, actually. I think that's what she did. She purchased a, okay, no, she sold it. She's back up to 1,800 gold, so never mind. She purchased a Warhammer, and I'm like, what is going on? So, but okay, so she sold it, so maybe that was just misjudgment. She might have sold it too late, actually, too. I didn't even double check that, but it seems like that she didn't get her full money back.
I can't tell because she's farming so much.
Yeah,
I don't
exactly.
know if
She's farming so crazy, 512 gold per minute. And it's hard to tell, but yeah, she is overtaken as a top farm in the game now. Silhouette 414 herself, so Bassett's doing his part, as we mentioned earlier. That Portal King, as we saw, he has his own Warhammer now. Or her own in this case, so we'll see what she eventually turns that into. But yeah, Wing Bow is definitely in the works here for Moon Queen and getting pretty damn close. Shiver is spotting out this Ancient attempt right here. It is cleaned up though, and no jump will be happening from the Legion team. So obviously the Legion side really trying to take advantage of that Shiver. They got, what, 3 portal keys, Tempest, Tundra, and Silhouette, as well as that Shiver to spot things down in the front ground, but not able to do a whole lot of that, unfortunately.
Yeah, she's just so farmed, man. Like, she's got her wing bow, and actually she can buy it right now. Already bought the evasion piece of that.
Yeah,
yep, has the wing bow. And one of the things about Moon Queen, too, that people don't realize is in the later game stage, like once she has her farm, she is incredibly easy to play. I mean, literally in team fights, you press R, you pop your shrunken head, and then you right click. And you really don't have to have like proper positioning. Maybe a little bit, but it's really simple. And that's what the beauty of her. She does so much damage, and it doesn't require really anything because of that multi-strike.
Well, it's not only, yeah, it's one thing with the team fights, but again, it's rare we get to see this, especially recently. You know, Mookie just, again, kind of picked up, but we never really get to see her in this dominant form. But, by the way, middle tower going down in the secondary tower. As Moonku will pour it in, actually. They're going to chase. Keeper the Force got the read off on his Zephyr. Zephyr's in a lot of trouble. Get the support coming. In comes under the Avalanche. There's the Tempest ultimate. That's going to fully lock down. And the Hellborn team's in a lot of trouble now. Moonku, can she get the Shrunken Knight off? No, she cannot. She hits the falling. Miraxis goes down. Keeper the Force will fall. The Glacial Downpour not doing nearly enough. What a Tempest ultimate coming out right there from GM from Russ. We've seen Amphora and Glacius, the 2 support. They're on the rub, but they're likely going to get cleaned up. And talk about a game-changing fight. Wow, quad kill for Flensmeister. And 15 is in such a good spot once again.
Oh, well, you talk about it, Breaky. That Tempest ultimate can be a game changer, and that's what I'm talking about. Keeper the Force needs to do the opposite. He needs to wait for that Tempest ultimate. It is a much bigger deal to be able to counter that. And unfortunately, Tempest was in a good position, and the supports, namely Nymphoria, wasn't able to cancel it. I saw him kind of out there in the corner, but he was kind of too far away. He was in an awkward position, but you have to cancel those Tempest ultimates. That was giant. Moon Queen just bought, by the way. They probably know she has no buyout, and she's going to be dead for another 43 seconds.
Keeper does.
Keeper has a buyout?
Yeah, he does.
Wow, that's a very cheap buyout.
Yeah, for his level 14, it's So earlier on, so yeah.
It must be literally like
just
800
there,
or
yeah.
850 gold.
Well, he does have it, but again, by himself, really, what could he do? So
Exactly.
really no point here. This tower will fall. And you look at the top lane, Silhouette also pressuring, so they're going to get a couple tower kills here. They melee racks. It's going to be close, actually, because Miraxis is going to come up, Nymphora's up, Glacius up, and Keeper of the Forest will be resurrecting. They're not going to get any racks, and you got to question a little bit right there with the split push. We do see Silhouette. She's not even going to finish off the tower. It will be taken out in the end, though. It's just going to be denied. What do you make of that? I mean, are you fine with them choosing to go for double towers rather than racks?
Completely agree with you. I have no idea why they went for that. They should have just got the very easy racks, and then if they decided that they had time afterwards, then they could migrate to the top lane and get a tower there. But that was a horrible decision right there. Nonetheless, they're still at a very great lead. But, you know, they got a perfect initiation on Moon Queen.
Yeah.
Can they get that every time? That's the question.
Yeah, the Tempest Ultimate, which that was the first time. We've seen like 4 or 5 Tempest Ultimates in team fights, and that's the first time that it's actually worked out. We've mentioned several times in this game. Now, he does have a shrunken head. He didn't have one there. He finally was able to get one. You still mentioned, though, Keeper of the Forest, his job now, will Zergo keep that in mind? Will he be the counter-initiator rather than the initiator in case of the Tempest jumps in? Now, Moon Queen going out of a Silhouette up here, but, of course, Silhouette just going to pour it out with your Illusion, and the Illusion will be killed. But that's going to be the big key. You got to see if Keeper of the Forest, will he be the one at first to make the move, or will he be passive enough and patient enough to wait for Tempest for that big ultimate? Because no doubt that set the tone, that won the fight for them last time. The Shrunken Head was actually used, apparently. That might have been just used at like the last second, so I don't think it really did much for Moon Queen. That's really unfortunate. That got really zero use out of it, yet a second cooldown is off of it, and that can definitely add up. But holy crap, Zephyr. 583 gold per minute. Look at the items he has. And he has a Behemoth's Heart being delivered to him in just a matter of seconds. I mean, it is just getting absurd. He's going to be over 2,000 life. Now, this is kind of one of those deceptive tankiness. He has a lot of life, but his armor is still fairly low. He only has 39% damage reduction. That's not the most massive by any means.
It is low, and yes, Moon Queen is dishing out a lot of damage, but primarily, he just has to live through the burst. And the burst is magic damage at this point. So I agree with that pickup. I think it's fine. Still sitting at lots of life. And so, yeah, just needs to live through the burst. They're going to win a team fight long drawn out because it's ultimately the ultimates, get it? From Miraxis and just the jump potential from this Hellborn side with the Moon Queen dishing a lot of damage. But still, late game, I mean, Silhouette can dish out a ton of damage onto Moon Queen. And Moon Queen also has that portal key, so it's going to have jump potential herself with that Tempest. So, but you're right. I mean, it's ultimately going to be, as we've seen time and time again, the standoff between Tempest and Keeper of the Forest. Who's going to jump first? I know it's tempting a lot of times for Keeper when you see all those heroes on the map, but you really have to wait to counter the Tempest Ultimate, especially now that she has a Shrunken Head up.
Yeah, unless you can guarantee a burst down onto Tempest right off the bat, then you cannot do that. So we'll see again what Zergo decides to do here when it comes to that. In the bottom lane, both teams have been down here for a little bit. They're scouting each other out. Obviously, there's a slight advantage for 15. They have Zepro. In fact, Zepro's going to jump. Oh, the Avalanche is canceled, actually. And now it's going to counter-initiate. Miraxis jumps in. There goes Silhouette in the background. Where's Tempest? There's a lockdown on the Moon Queen, but the ultimate's activated. The Shrunken Head as well. Keeper of the Forest still waiting for Tempest. No Tempest ultimate, but the Legion team is picking them off. Moon Queen just dishing out the right-click auto-attack damage, but not enough for any kills just yet. Or it is Tundra's dead, so it's Tundra for Glacius. A 1-for-1 exchange. Zephyr on the front line. There's that Tempest ultimate. Keeper of the Forest gets caught. He cannot root it. That is huge right there. He's probably going to root coming out of this. No, he can't even get it off. He will fall. Moon Queen, the sole survivor. And what patience from Tempest. I mean, we talked about Keeper was going to be the one that needed to be patient. Tempest was not forcing anything. He was waiting that whole time. He kept him playing passive, and, well, we saw the end result, and that will do it for game number 1. 15 takes out DmSn here.
Yeah, really well played by DM from Roos. Extremely well played, I gotta say. I don't know what part of the fight you were watching, but I was definitely watching the interaction between Tempest and Keeper of the Forest.
Yeah.
And they were kind of do-si-doing, like waiting for the other person to jump first. And Tempest knew he couldn't go in there with his ultimate, with the Keeper of the Forest waiting to ult to counter that. And found a perfect opportunity as they were backing up. He's like, hey, I can get Keeper in my ultimate, so along with 2 other heroes. So found a perfect initiation. Moon Queen could not counter it with the beam from her main spammable spell because the Shrunken Head was up. So just really well played from DM from Roos, and yeah, they take game 1 here.
Very deserving. Now, I mean, that was a very, very interesting game. DmSn, they had their moments. It seemed like a couple times they was going to be making some solid comebacks there, and Again, Moon Cream being played by Smack Donald. He deserves credit. 7-1-4 finish, a crazy farm for him, but in the end, just wasn't enough for the team. So we have 15, aka bunker down. They are going to be up 1-0, but this is a best out of 3, and as we both expected going into it, pretty good one at that. So really intrigued to see what happens in game number 2 now, but we are going to take a short break here, and then we will be back. So once again, I'm Breaky CPK. Joining me is Ralph Amador. Stay tuned, guys. Game 2 just around the corner.